What's up, everybody? This is What is Sports? I am your host, Tyler Dietz. With me is Nick Grant. How's it going, Nick?
Hey, man, it's going pretty solid. Happy to be here, and let's do our thing, and let's talk about sports.
Oh, yeah, that's what we do. And also, we got JP Cochran. We're going to be using JP quite a bit this episode because he's our resident tennis expert.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody?
Going good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Especially since today we're going to be talking about the U.S. Open, among a few other things. But first, if you enjoy what you hear this episode, like us on our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at WhatIsSports1 with no question mark. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and leave us a rating and review if you enjoy the show. Also, check out our sister show, What is Nerd? And if you have any comments or questions about this show or sports that you would like us to cover, send us an email at wisportscast@gmail.com, and we will address those. Now, we are talking about the U.S. Open today, but first we got a couple of news items. We had our Listener League Fantasy Football Draft this past Sunday, and hey, I'm proud to say I'm ranked number 3 according to the predictions on the league. How do you?
Yeah,
how do
but
you
those
feel?
Man, those predictions are always crazy, though. I mean, they make you feel good, but at the end of the day, they don't hold a lot of weight. And maybe I'm just kind of bitter because I think I'm predicted to be 8th or 9th. but you know, you never know. Anything can happen.
Yeah,
but,
and it's like we were saying on the episode, which, by the way, if you're listening to this, the episode's already been released. It was a live episode, but if you didn't get a chance to tune into it during the draft, go back and listen to it. I think that Nick gave actually a ton of interesting insights on playing fantasy football and the drafting process, but also just kind of talking about like NFL players in general. I know there's kind of a lot of useful information that was packed in there that we didn't really discuss on the NFL preseason episode. So
right.
Yeah, give it a listen.
And plus it was a fun time. We had a good time interacting with our fellow listener league mates and some other people that tuned in through a chat on our show. So it was fun. We might do some more live episodes.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. So I think that maybe we could do live commentary on a game or something like that in the future. I think something like that might be cool. Yeah. But yeah,
and hopefully next time there's a live commentary, I'll be able to be there. I had other obligations yesterday.
JP, we told them where you were.
I figured you did.
Backstreet's back. All right.
Yeah, it was a good time. If you ever wanted to go see like a ton of screaming girls and go to a Backstreet Boys concert, so my hearing is coming back somewhat. So,
in addition to fantasy football, we are starting to kind of come to a close for our fantasy baseball season. We just ended the regular season, right, Nick?
Yeah, just finished this past weekend, and we're all, two of us are entering into the playoffs. I finished first in the regular season, so that's pretty exciting. Dietz finished in 4th place, which is a good place to be.
Oh, good job, Dietz. Good job,
I'm
Dietz.
proud of that because there were several weeks where I let my team slip, and I got bumped down to like 6th or 7th for a while. And but I came back in the last few weeks, worked my way up to 4th. Now I like that we're in the playoffs, and so it's kind of like fair game for everybody, right? May the best team win, so to speak.
Definitely.
Now, what place did JP land in, Nick?
Well, all season long we've talked about how he was in last place, 10th place. Well, you might be surprised that nothing changed. He actually finished the regular season in last place, and so.
But JP, even though he had a bit of a rough season, JP, you are going to bring it in football, right?
I am. I feel pretty good about my teams. Actually, I feel good about this team, but I feel even better about the team, the other league I'm in Nick's other league. I do have a lot of Well, there are a couple of similar players. Both leagues have Aaron Rodgers as my QB, and both leagues I have Amari Cooper as one of my receivers. So, I mean, I've had this feeling before at the beginning of the season, and things didn't really pan out how I wanted them to. But I do feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. Each time I just drafted the highest player that I could at that moment, and I waited longer to get a kicker and defense. So,
and it's all about sticking with it. I feel like, because that's what we were talking about on the live draft episode. It's not about how you start off; it's about how you maintain your team throughout the season.
That's right. And I mean, I did a very, very poor job of keeping up with my fantasy baseball team, but last year I did. I do think it was one of my best fantasy years as far as keeping up with my team.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
one of our league mates, Emily, she always talks about how JP doesn't pay any attention in our league, because JP's been in this league, I mean, since it started, since 2013, the one that another league I'm in, and I got to give him credit. He actually made a few transactions and was fairly active.
I did. Yeah, so Emily, I'm gonna bring it. Okay, if you're listening, then you better be shaking in your little boots, because I'm going to crush you. I'm going to crush you, Emily.
You should make your team name the Crushinator.
The Crushinator. Okay?
Yeah, that'd be a good team name.
Well, and JP, so in our listener league, you are my legit team, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's just temporary.
Okay.
I need to change it.
All right. So yeah, we'll keep you all up to speed on how that stuff is going. Okay, what do we got next? Nick, you got some baseball news, I see?
Yeah, just a little baseball news. I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast probably already knows this, but Justin Verlander threw his third career no-hitter on Sunday against the Blue Jays. So that was pretty cool.
Which I did not know, so thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, and he's on your fantasy baseball team too, so it really worked out. But yeah, he struck out 14 batters, had a great game. Obviously, it's a no-hitter, and he became the sixth pitcher to throw at least 3 no-hitters in a career. I think some of the others were Nolan Ryan, I think Sandy Koufax, but I can't remember for sure. But anyways, it's elite company that he's in, so an incredible career for Justin Verlander, and he's getting up there in age, but man, he's still bringing it, so very impressive.
Nick, do you know how old he is? Is he like 36, 37?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I was thinking. One of those. I mean,
that's pretty crazy. Think of how many years he's been pitching. Think of how many times he's pitched a baseball, not thrown it, but like pitched it, which is a lot more stress on your arm. Like, he probably started playing baseball when he was 7 or something like that. And the fact that he's like still an ace at age 36 or 7.
So is this old? Is that old for a pitcher?
That's pretty old for that's old for a pitcher. That's old for a player in general. Very rarely do you see a player in any sport at that age still can compete at an elite level. Typically, their bodies are starting to slow down or wear down. But I mean, look at Big Papi, David Ortiz. Everybody said, "Oh, he's going to decline. He's going to decline," and he just kept hitting. And I mean, there's very few people that can do what they've done with their age.
All right. Well, congrats, Justin Verlander. Thank you for carrying my fantasy baseball team. All right, and next up, I got some motorsport updates. We had this past Sunday, we had 3 races. I'm going to kind of go a little bit quickly through them. First, we had F1 racing, the Belgian Grand Prix, which was Sunday morning. This was a kind of an interesting race because Max Verstappen is my main guy for F1. He's currently the 3rd place racer overall. He's on the Red Bull team. He's right behind Lewis Hamilton. Well, not right behind them, but he's behind Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, who are both in the Mercedes team, and they are unstoppable. Okay, like they work together. Valtteri Bottas is kind of the backup to Lewis Hamilton, and make sure that he gets first. Talking about the standings overall, Lewis Hamilton has 268 points. Valtteri Bottas has 203 points. So that's a nice buffer. And then Max Verstappen has 181 points. So Max is like 80-something points behind Lewis Hamilton, there's nothing – I mean, we still have several races in the season, but I highly doubt that he's going to catch up. But he could pass that Valtteri Bottas in the overall standings, and that's what I'm hoping for. However, he had a very unfortunate race this Sunday. He crashed at the very beginning of the race, like literally within a few seconds of starting. So he didn't get any points for this race because he was unable to complete it, and that kind of set him further back behind the Mercedes team. But standings overall, Lewis Hamilton did not get first on Sunday. He was beaten by Charles Leclerc, who's on the Ferrari team. But then you get Hamilton and Bottas getting second and third, and then Sebastian Vettel, who's also part of the Ferrari team, getting fourth. So it was an interesting race. I was disappointed with Verstappen, though, personally. The next race is going to be the Italian Grand Prix on Sunday, September 8th on ESPN2. All right. Next up, we got IndyCar racing. This was the Grand Prix of Portland, which was Sunday afternoon. For standings, we got Will Power for first, Felix Rosenqvist for second, Alexander Rossi in third, Colton Herta in fourth, and then Joseph Newgarden in fifth. Now, Joseph Newgarden is the first place overall in the standings, and he's got a pretty nice, solid lead, especially considering that there's only one race left in the IndyCar season, which is the Firestone Grand Prix, coming up September 22nd on NBC. So he's pretty much got first place locked in. There's really nothing that they can do about that. But the interesting thing is going to be the fight for second and third place between Rossi and Pagenaud, Simon Pagenaud, the winner of the Indy 500. Because Rossi has 552 points for the season and Pagenaud has 551 points for the season. So the final race of the IndyCar series will be an interesting race to watch just to see these two fight for second. So that will give you kind of a reason to watch that. But overall for the season, we also have Dixon in fourth, Scott Dixon in fourth place, and then Will Power in fifth place. All right, and finally we got NASCAR, which, I mean, Nick, you and I were supposed to watch the Bojangles Southern 500, which was Sunday night.
Yeah, we talked about it, but
well, it got delayed.
didn't happen.
Yeah, it got delayed because of rain. It was supposed to be on during the fantasy football draft, but it didn't start until 10 p.m. because of bad weather conditions. So I ended up missing it. And this is going to be my first NASCAR race to watch because the playoffs are starting in a few weeks. But that's unfortunate. I mean, we'll be getting into NASCAR hopefully next week, whenever I can watch the race. It's going to be the Brickyard 400 on September 8th on NBC. So I'm going to try to catch that one. That is the last regular season NASCAR race before the playoffs begin. So yeah, check it out. We're kind of coming to the close of that, though. All right. And finally, I just wanted to give a quick shout-out to the UEFA Champions League group stage draw. I posted the results on Facebook and Twitter, but on Thursday, the 29th, they drew groups, and so the group stages have been determined for the UEFA Champions League. If you don't know what that is, go back and listen to our episode on it, which was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and this is something that I actually kind of want to keep up with. I know, like I've said before, I'm not a real huge soccer fan, and I don't know a whole lot about the different teams.
Yep.
But this league, to me, sounds really cool. Just how you have the different guys, the different teams from different leagues competing against each other.
Yeah.
And so I think this would be something really fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and my advice for watching this, because what's nice about it is it happens sporadically throughout the year. So we're having our first round of group stages on September 17th and 18th. And then they have a break for like a month, and then they do the second group stage matches. So my recommendation is to pick teams to follow, even if you don't know them. I kind of picked a few just going off of name recognition, which most of mine are English Premier League teams because that's the league that I'm the most familiar with. But I'll just kind of list them off. Listeners, if y'all want to get involved and you don't know who to watch, go with these. I'll be kind of talking about them here and there and posting about them on social media. But in Group A, we have Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. Okay, so Real Madrid being from Spain, Paris Saint-Germain being from France. Group B, we have Tottenham. Group C, we have Manchester City. Group D, we have Juventus. Group E, we have Liverpool. Group F, we have Barcelona. Group G, we have Leipzig, which is my only Bundesliga team. That's the German league. That's the only German team that I picked. And then we have Chelsea in Group H. So I kind of picked a favorite team in each group stage to root for. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I got for news and stuff. Nick, do you have anything else before we move on to our game recap for today?
Yeah, we're switching over to college football. We're all excited about that. And I just wanted to point out a few games that happened this weekend. Most of them were pretty much blowouts, which is pretty common. We have these big teams facing off these really small schools, basically just to beat the crap out of them.
Is it like a pep rally, basically, just to get them hyped up?
Sort
for
of.
the
I mean,
season?
a lot of these teams, it's like a tuner game.
Yeah.
Where they just, it's like a little scrimmage. But these small schools typically don't mind because they get a huge payday. I think I saw one school got paid around $1 million to lose by 50 points.
Wow.
So it's exposure, and it's a big payday, like I said, to these smaller schools. But yeah, some notable games I wrote down: Tennessee and Georgia State. Tennessee, who's in the SEC, they lost to Georgia State 38-30. It's a pretty big upset because in the last episode, JP and I mentioned that the SEC is one of the most dominating conferences, and Tennessee's in the SEC. And just to give you an idea of how big of a loss it was, Georgia State last year, they went 2-10. They had 2 wins and 10 losses. And considering Tennessee is a pretty big program, they should not have lost. And then next up, Boise State defeated Florida State 36-31. Florida State, they're not as great as they have been in years past. And Boise State usually has a pretty good program for a smaller school. But it's a little surprising. Boise State had a true freshman quarterback, and I think he had over 400 yards passing or something. He had a great game. Don't quote me on that, but I know he had a really good game. And then we also had Penn State defeated Idaho 79-7. I think that was the second
that's crazy.
highest.
79-7.
Yeah, I mean that's insane.
It's
I think
like
I saw that. Yeah, it's like one-sided basketball, essentially. I think that's the second most points in the AP poll era. The 79, I believe. I think I saw that on the ticker.
How many touchdowns is that? Like, I can't even do math that well.
79 divided by 7.
So that's what? That's 11 and a safety.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
so
true.
it's a lot.
That's like at least 3 touchdowns almost 3 touchdowns per quarter. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But the defense probably scored and turnovers probably helped. I didn't watch the game. I saw the final score. And then lastly, I want to talk about, or just mention that Iowa State defeated Northern Iowa. Iowa State's in the Big 12, and they're actually ranked. I think they're like 24th, something like that. And Northern Iowa is a smaller school, but Iowa State won 29-26 in triple overtime. And to me, that's interesting. It was a close game, but what stood out to me, that's a triple overtime game, and the score seemed pretty low. JP, you've seen these double overtime games, triple overtime games, and I mean they usually score more points than this, right?
What was the score again?
29-26.
Yeah, normally that actually is, Luke, because with each overtime a team has to score, so it must have been a low-scoring game going into overtime.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Again, didn't watch it, but just thought that was interesting. But yeah, that was pretty much all the excitement except for the Auburn Oregon game, which we're about to talk about. It was Dietz. This wasn't your first full college football game, right?
I watched the Miami Florida game last week, but I mean, this game was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. I was totally into it because so my way of watching this, right, is I wanted to pick a favorite so I could have a just team to root for. So I just kind of randomly selected Oregon. Like, I literally flipped a coin and tails was Oregon. There you go. And so I was rooting for Oregon, and it looked like they had it, right? Like again, I don't watch a lot of football, but in the by the end of the first half, I was pretty confident that Oregon had it in the bag. and especially since they scored the touchdown in the third quarter too. But then like the fourth quarter, something happened, right? Like that fourth quarter was incredible for Auburn, and just really entertaining to watch.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. And I like Oregon. I've pulled for them, not hardcore, but for a while, back when they had Dennis Dixon as their quarterback. So it's been a while. But, yeah, I thought it was a very entertaining game, and I thought Oregon came out, looked like they were just going to just run all over Auburn. Yeah, and then after they went up 14-6, they kind of stalled. They had a few turnovers and didn't really get a whole lot going. And Auburn made some big plays to kind of stay in the game. And I think it was a punt return that was a really big punt return. Then on the next play,
yeah, that's right. Well, okay, because they had a punt return where, like I believe it was Auburn that was returning it.
No, it was Oregon. Oregon had a big punt return,
okay,
and looked like the guy was about to score. But on the very next play, the Oregon quarterback fumbled the snap.
Okay, that's right.
And then Auburn picked it up and almost scored and returned it for a touchdown, and then they ended up. So like, it looked like they were going to score a touchdown.
Do you think that Oregon lost because their offense got sloppy or something like that? What do you think happened?
I don't think it's because they got sloppy. I think because Auburn, they were rolling out with a true freshman quarterback. And he had a pretty big game.
What does that mean, true freshman?
It means so I mentioned this in another episode, actually in What is Nerd. So you can get redshirted, which means you sit
Star Trek.
Yeah, you sit out a year, but you still retain
freshman status, right? Because it's like they're like incubating the player. For a year before they actually start them.
Right.
Okay, so this is his actual first year of college, right?
Yes.
He wasn't a redshirt last year.
18 or 19 years old, and so it was a big game, and he did really well. He started off kind of sloppy, but you could see that he settled down. And Auburn they started out slow, but the defense started playing better. And they started just wearing Oregon's defense down. They started just really running the ball over and over again. You could see that the Oregon's defense was tiring out. And so, yeah, it was a real close game. And late in the game,
you talking about the final touchdown?
Yeah, late in the game, it was Auburn finally got in within 1 point. It was 21-20 Oregon, and it looked like Oregon was going to milk out the clock. Didn't happen. They punted. But it's like, there's still not that much time left. But so you feel fairly confident that Oregon was going to win. But then Bo Nix, with 9 seconds left in the game, he threw a touchdown pass to take the lead 27-21.
Yeah, and that last, how many minutes left whenever Auburn had the ball and was just moving its way up the field? That last part of the game was awesome. Like, because they just couldn't stop them. And they were just moving like with just the right amount of time and progressing up the field. And yeah, that final touchdown pass was great. Tons of fun. I love watching, even though I was rooting against Auburn, watching it come back like that is great.
Yeah, it was very entertaining, especially for the first week of college football.
Well, and so this game, I almost called it a match. This game was supposed to be a close game, though, right? Like, these two teams are evenly matched, right? Or is this an upset?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was an upset. I mean, both teams were ranked pretty close to each other. I think both were. I think one was 13 and 14 or something like that. Like, they were pretty close in ranking. I wouldn't say it's an upset, but yeah. Usually, this is what you want to see when teams are this closely matched, and especially in the rankings, because there's sometimes you'll get. I mean, JP, I'm sure you've seen this too. You'll see like a top 5 matchup where it's completely one-sided. You'll have like the 3rd and 5th ranked team, and team that's ranked 3 will just dominate, or team that's ranked 5th will dominate, and there's all this hype, and then
that's payoff. True. And even in, like, I'd say sometimes even if two teams are ranked, you still sometimes don't know what's going to happen. Like, so say like a number 5 team plays a number 15 team. Well, I mean, they're still like, it's so, college football is so. Like, there are just so many upsets, and it's so unpredictable that, I mean, that happens all the time. So, so like having a 14 beat a 13, I mean, it's not really an upset, especially when they're like two big schools. So like, say Oregon wasn't ranked and they're playing Auburn. Well, I mean, they're just there are so many good athletes that go to this both the schools, and it's just on any given day anything can happen.
I got a sports dummy question. What do you mean by unranked schools?
So like, I think teams are ranked like football teams, like when it comes to Division I, like the big Division I teams, you have like teams ranked 1 to 25. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, the rankings only go up to 25, and the AP poll and the college football playoff rankings, you can still receive votes, and you can just miss the top 25, but
so if your school's not in the top 25, then it's basically you're just in the same pot with the rest of the schlubs, like the other schools.
Yeah, I mean,
sort of. I mean, there's still some good teams that aren't ranked. It's just that maybe they've had 2 or 3 more losses than the next teams.
Yeah, and maybe a lot of these, or it could be some school that lost a lot of seniors or a lot of players to the NFL or something like that. So, I mean, because there's turnover, obviously.
Yeah,
turnover
that's
everywhere.
a good point. Like I never thought of that. I guess like the effect of having a extremely good player on your team makes them all the more likely that you're going to lose them.
And I think when it comes to college, a player has to play in college for 2 years until they can become eligible for the NFL draft. So with college basketball, it's 1 year, but in NFL they have to wait at least 2 years.
Okay, because wasn't Zion Williamson? Wasn't he?
He was one and done.
Yeah. So like Zion could be considered like a redshirt freshman. Really, he's that age.
Because he was only 19, right? Or was he 18? Whenever
something
he was drafted?
19 or 20.
Yeah.
I think he was older than 18, but he was really young. So. I mean, there are just so many factors that go into rankings, but with a big school like Alabama, kind of very similar to like a big basketball school like Kentucky or Duke or a big program like that. I mean, they'll have a lot of players like get drafted, but they are a lot of the top high school athletes want to go to those big programs. So every year they have good, really high quality athletes, being recruited. So they just get they're just a constant flow of amazing athletes through those big programs like that. So
nice. All right. Well, looking forward to the rest of the season though. This one got me warmed up. I think that next week the game recap that we're going to be doing is going to be Texas versus LSU, right?
Yeah, and next week also we have our first week of the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm sure I will watch the Dallas Cowboys play, and maybe some others. We'll see. We'll see what's on.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to be surprised, Dietz, if you like college football more than the NFL, because
so far
I do.
Oh, okay,
I do.
Yeah. So far, like I've watched a few NFL preseason games, and I think that the college games are more entertaining because, like y'all were saying in a previous episode, the crazier stuff happens in college football. I feel like I guess maybe the plays are riskier, or something like that. Or
I feel like there's more creativity in college football too, for the most part. But also it's hard to compare college football to NFL preseason because NFL preseason a lot of the star players aren't. I mean, the games really don't matter.
Yeah.
A lot of the star players play maybe a series or two. And so you're looking at second and third stringers for the majority of the game. So it's not as fun. I mean, it's fun to watch because it's football, but it's nothing compared to the NFL. But that being said, I still prefer to watch. And I said this in our draft, I think. I still prefer college football over the NFL, but the NFL is pretty intense and it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, I definitely do enjoy the NFL, and I watch more NFL than I do college.
But anyways, let's transition to the next topic. We're going to be discussing the U.S. Open. And
U.S. Open.
Yeah, I think that JP, you got some plenty of info on this.
Yes, I do. So let's get started. So. Big upset today, guys. Do you know what it was?
Yes, I saw that. Djokovic had to throw the match, right?
The Joker, yep.
What? He lost?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think
he retired. He had to retire.
He had a shoulder injury or something like that, right?
Yeah. So,
but still, that's crazy.
Yeah. So he had a shoulder injury. He was playing Stan Wawrinka, who he's actually Stan Wawrinka. He's been on the top 4 before. He's a good player. He's from Rogers country, Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. See, I never heard of him. But
yeah, he's good. He's good. He's a good player.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was pretty wild though, because I didn't see the match. I was just looking at the brackets earlier today, and I saw that, and that's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea that Djokovic was. I don't know if his shoulder was bothering him before the match, or I mean, I guess on any stroke you can tweak your shoulder and you can.
Yeah. Well, and he was losing the match anyways, because I'm looking at it right now. So it was 4-6 for the first set, 5-7 for the second, and then 1-2 for the third. So I'm guessing that his shoulder was bothering him maybe from the beginning, but apparently the crowd booed him whenever he threw the match. So yeah, that's kind of messed up.
Well, I mean, they probably paid good money to watch him play.
Yeah.
But still, they shouldn't boo a guy because he physically can't play.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Gosh. Like. Why don't these other people get out there and do it? I mean, they have no idea what's going on. I mean, yeah, like maybe a player could just be playing terrible, and maybe he has, it's all in his head. And who wants to be out there embarrassed in front of millions of people, like on TV?
Yeah.
And there in person. But who knows? But he's probably if Djokovic is getting beat that bad, then chances are that he has a shoulder injury. I mean, he's number one. He's the best player in the world. I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah, that's. I believe that he. It's not like he threw the match because he was losing, and then he's like, "Oh, my shoulder,"
Stan Wawrinka is good, but I mean, he's not that good to just totally destroy, the world's number one like that.
Uh-huh.
But.
Cool.
Anyway.
Well, so what else is going on?
Let's see. So we'll talk about the big players. Federer, my man Federer is still in. He's advanced to the quarterfinals. Roger Federer has some crazy record. He's been to like 50-something consecutive quarterfinals in a row. Like,
wow,
it's pretty much a guarantee. Like if you're watching, like that's what I noticed. Like keeping up with this tournament, I'm like, okay, I don't really need to watch the Federer matches because I know he's going to win.
And yeah, there have been a couple of majors that he's missed, but every major that he has been in the last 13 or so years, I don't know how long it's been, but I tried to do the math the other day, but he's made the quarterfinals since the mid 2000s maybe, 2004 something like that. Every tournament he's been in, he's made the quarterfinals. So for instance, you see Djokovic, he is great. He's a great tennis player. But, even Nadal, they'll have a fluke. They'll, for instance, Nadal, he's gotten beat in the first round before. He's been, and Djokovic, that, they've all been upset in the early rounds. But that's never happened to Federer. And he's 38 now, I think. Yeah, 38 now. And so right now, the 38-year-old Federer he's trying to become the oldest Grand Slam semifinalist since Jimmy Connors. He was 39 during his 1991 run at the U.S. Open.
I mean, do you think it's going to be him and Federer and Nadal in the finals again?
I hope so. Fun fact, Federer and Nadal have never played in a U.S. Open final. Actually, no. They've never played each other at the U.S. Open.
Oh, wow.
So,
because
it's very surprising.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they do, because they're so good, they're going to be seated on opposite sides of the bracket.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. They would both have to make it to the finals in order to play each
so
other.
every year something's happened to where they just haven't played.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of years Nadal's been injured and hasn't even been in it, and other years I guess they just one got beat before the other.
Yeah, well, and listeners, we're recording this on Monday night, and so actually right now, as we're recording, Nadal is playing Cilic, and Nadal has won the first set, and Cilic is currently winning the second set, 2-1, but so
what was the score of the first set?
3-6.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really surprised if Nadal was beaten. Cilic did win the U.S. Open like a few years ago. So Cilic is a good player. He's been in the top 5 at least, maybe the top 4 in the last like maybe 3 years ago or something like that. So he's been good, and he's been in some other finals. Like he's been in the Wimbledon final before. But
cool. Well,
anyway,
but he's no Nadal.
Yeah.
Hoping for a Federer Nadal final.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for as well, because I actually love both of those players now. JP, I'm like a tennis fan now. Like,
good, man.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
I
that
actually,
makes me happy.
yeah. So we've had tennis on like all the time. Like we watch so much tennis in the past few days, and like it never gets old. Like it's great. It's the best.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it in order to, you just have to sit down and watch it, but it's hard not to, find a player that you really like, and you just really get to know a player because, like football and other sports where there are a lot of players on the field, everything is just so distant, but there's just so much raw emotion, so much emotion you can see on the players' faces.
Yeah, and it's like you recognize, it's as easy to recognize a tennis player as it would be to recognize like an actor in a movie, because you see them so much. Well, okay, so let's transition to talking about the women's singles, which I've actually probably watched more women's singles than men's. I think I've seen 2 of Coco Gauff's matches, and I've seen 2 of Osaka's matches. And I've been following Townsend as well. I haven't seen any of Serena's matches, but yeah, there's a lot of great women's players, a lot of great American women's players. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a U.S. women's tennis fan. So
yeah.
Men, on the other hand, not so much, but the women, yeah, you have, and even Osaka. She plays for Japan.
Osaka, she's lived in the U.S. since she was 3 years old, though.
Yeah, she has a Japanese flag by her name, so
yes,
I guess she represents Japan. But either way, and then you have Coco Gauff. She's very exciting to watch. She's 15 years old. A lot of people were hoping that she would, possibly win the tournament.
I think that's people getting their hopes up too much.
Yeah. She's incredibly young.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
And she's a lot of fun to watch. It's like you have to root for her. Like whenever you're watching her, because it's like, she's 15 years old, and she's the underdog. And but yeah, her match against Osaka though was kind of sad because Osaka destroyed her. But Osaka was very graceful in her win. Yeah,
she showed great sportsmanship.
But what's the age difference between them?
Not much, actually.
About 6 years.
Yeah, Osaka's only 21.
But still, 6 years is a big difference, and that's 6 years of tennis that Osaka has that Coco doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot more experience, and what's that saying? Something about we learn more about ourselves and our defeats than our victories.
Right.
So. I'm pulling for Coco now that she's out, but I was just because, like you said, it's awesome to see a 15-year-old play at this level and do very well.
And the fact that she came out of nowhere, right? Because she was because in Wimbledon, right? We talked about this. She was like kind of like a walk-on player, right? She just got like an invite, right, out of the blue. Isn't that right, JP?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's right. I can't remember the full story, but.
Yeah, so she's like literally just exploded onto the tennis scene now. So that's pretty cool to see. And even though she got beat pretty badly by Osaka, she still made it to the 3rd round, which is saying a lot. There are a lot of good players.
That's further than I've been, so I can't.
Well, in actually her match against Babos in the 2nd round was really good. So I guess so far we have. Would you say that the predicted women's? Oh wait, Osaka was eliminated. That's right.
Yep, Osaka was beaten.
Okay, yeah, I almost forgot about that. So who's your kind of your picks for the final 2, JP? If you want to make a prediction.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say. Serena's still in. It's hard if she's still in this late. Then it's hard to to root against her. A lot of the other women who are still in, I'm not too familiar with.
Well, Townsend's the American player.
Which I mean, I hope it's Townsend. I mean, I think, I'm not the biggest Serena fan in the world, but I'm just not as familiar with the women. And I know actually, never mind. She was beat. There was another American who was in it, but she was beat pretty bad today. So
well, and also Simona Halep, who won the French Open, right? She was knocked out.
Yeah, she was knocked out, and I didn't watch the match, but I just saw replays of her just smashing her racket on the ground.
Yeah,
so I think she had a bad match.
Yeah, and
so tennis will do that to you. It's
almost as frustrating as golf, I'm sure.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, well, I guess, is there anything else that you wanted to add? We don't really, do you have much in regards to doubles? I'm sure it's like hard to pay attention to doubles, but
yeah, there's just enough going on in singles. I haven't really, and plus, doubles isn't really televised much, so it's harder to keep up with it. They'll televise the finals doubles, but unless you're just I'm sure you could find it, stream it online or something like that, but. The big news we went over. Djokovic getting, having to forfeit his match, and then the match going on right now between Nadal and Cilic is pretty big, and hoping for that Federer-Nadal final, and then we have the big matches, Osaka and golf, which was great, seeing great sportsmanship from Osaka. I was hoping that she would go far and defend her because she won the U.S. Open last year. I was hoping that she would win it again.
Yes, because she beat Serena last year. And that's whenever they had the incident where Serena was yelling at the ref.
Yeah, oh gosh, and that's partly. You always find Serena in some dramatic. There's always some drama surrounding her. So, anyway.
Well, okay, and so this is the last major, right?
Yep. Yeah, this is the last major, and the next one will be the Australian Open, which will be next year.
Yeah, okay. In January, because January is summertime for Australians because they're on the southern hemisphere of the planet, which is insane. It's a fact that I still have a hard time believing. So yeah, I'm kind of sad because I've really taken a liking to tennis. So after this, are there any tennis events worth watching or talking about until the Australian Open?
Maybe some small ones. I'm not really sure. None that I can think of. Because a lot of the other big matches are the pre U.S. Open or pre Wimbledon.
Right. It's just summer is the season for tennis.
So a lot of those take place in the U.S. or you have big tennis matches in Toronto and Indian Wells and Cincinnati. But all those are over. And also Barcelona, Madrid before the French Open. But all that's in the summer. So, yeah, it is kind of sad. We have to wait another year for tennis, for golf. But, good thing we have the NFL coming up. So
yeah. Hey, and it's it can't be Christmas every day. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up what we're going to be doing for this episode. Did you guys want to add anything that we missed before we call it a night?
Not that I can think of. I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I think JP did a good job of talking about the U.S. Open. Got some names to kind of pay attention to, and I'm going to try to watch a little bit more. But like I said, I'll probably just watch the finals.
Yeah, well, and I'll say this too, because we mentioned last episode about how the final match of Wimbledon was literally the best thing I'd ever seen in sports. But the men's tennis matches for me are sometimes a bit too long. So that's why I think I prefer the women's matches because it's best of 3 rather than best of 5. So that's kind of Nick. I would recommend trying to watch some women's matches and. It's not as long because I'm looking at this Cilic-Nadal match and I'm like, man, this thing isn't.
They can go on forever.
Yeah, but anyways, that does it for this week's episode. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about the WNBA playoffs, which I haven't been keeping up with at all with the WNBA season. However, the playoffs are going to be happening pretty soon. So we're going to be catching up with that. Also, I'm sure we'll talk plenty of football, soccer, motorsport, all that stuff. But thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, if you liked what you heard, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. We really appreciate that. And subscribe to our show if you haven't yet. Also, check out our sister show, What is Nerd? This week, we're talking about Dragon Ball Z, which will be a ton of fun.
Man, that sounds so nerdy. Gosh, it's nerdy.
And that does it for this week, though. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
See ya.